Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Other World. I'm your host, the Man Raven, and in today's episode, we're going to be looking into the Wendigo. So sit back and relax as we dive into The Other World. The Wendigo is a cannibalistic spirit or a monster originating from native folklore. It is described as a towering 15-foot tall creature with grayish skin, missing lips, and glowing eyes. Another description of the creature is a tall deer-like monster. The legend says a human can transform into a Wendigo through cannibalism or greedy actions. Now that we know what the Wendigo is and what they kind of look like, let's look into some scary encounters with the beast. As always, take the stories with a grain of salt. This story, happens in the early morning at an unknown trail hike in the Utah mountains. A solo hiker and her German Shepherd experience a violent encounter that'll make you question ever going out on a hike ever again. I'm an avid hiker and often explore secluded mountain trails with my 3-year-old German Shepherd, Kyrie. Kyrie? Yeah, right, Kyrie? I live near the Utah mountains and frequently rely on hiking apps to find dog-friendly trails that are not heavily trafficked. On this occasion, while scrolling through all trails, I noticed a trail I didn't recognize. It appeared at the bottom of the list and had only one review that simply said, "Good." That struck me as odd, but I assumed it was just unpopular. The following morning, Kiri and I packed our gear and headed out. I always carry emergency supplies, including a first aid kit, extra food, and a knife. Kiri eats a raw meat diet, and since we planned to hike early, I packed her food in the blue backpack she wears. I now understand how dangerous that was. Yeah, that's definitely not a good idea to bring raw meat with you on a hike. That's how you get every meat-eating animal and barbecuers after you. The drive took me further into the canyon than usual. Evidently, the directions led me to a narrow, hidden road that barely fit one car. I never encountered another vehicle. At the end was a very small parking area with room for only a few cars. I parked facing outward, unsure whether the land was private, though the app gave no warning. I kept Kiri leash, but after about 30 minutes without seeing anyone, I let her off the leash. The hike was steep at first, then leveled out into a beautiful forest. I felt calm and grounded as I listened to the nature sounds around us. At the top, the trees opened into a large meadow. Mountains framed the background, and I could hear a river and a waterfall nearby. It was one of the most beautiful places I have ever seen. As we crossed the center of the meadow, Kiri suddenly stopped in front of me. She always walked ahead, and I trust her instincts. Before I could see anything, a powerful smell hit me. It was beyond normal decay. It burned my nose and made my eyes water. I covered my face with my shirt, and I felt nauseous. In the middle of the meadow stood a massive male deer with enormous antlers. The sight was striking, but the smell was overwhelming. At first, the deer faced away from us. When it turned and looked in our direction, Kiri's hackles rose, and she began crying softly. I'm Native American, and I grew up hearing stories of Wendigos and other forest entities. When Kiri reacted, a deep sense of dread settled in my stomach. The deer began to stand upright. It was impossibly tall. As it turned fully toward me, it started walking in my direction. I froze, and then in my mind, I heard the words, "I am the only one of this land." The creature suddenly charged. I screamed and called for Kiri and ran. The sound behind me was violent. Trees and brush were being destroyed as it pursued us. Adrenaline took over and I ran blindly as the trail narrowed and the thorny bushes tore my arms. Suddenly the creature veered left. When I glanced back, it was gone, and so was Kiri. I called her name, but the trail ended abruptly at a rocky drop. I fell, striking my head. I barely felt it. As I stood, I heard Kiri cry out to my right. She slammed into me moments later. She was bleeding heavily from the neck. Before I could help her, a scream echoed from the forest. I lifted my 85-pound dog and ran towards the sound of the waterfall. Behind us, the creature landed on the rocks where I had fallen earlier. I tripped again and I saw it watching us. Its eyes appeared empty or completely black. Desperate, I tore off Kiri's backpack and threw it toward the entity. I backed into the waterfall, holding Kiri as my legs weakened. Up close, the creature no longer resembled a deer. It was something monstrous and unnatural. Water poured over us as I pressed against the rock wall, keeping Kiri's face out of the spray. The smell was unbearable. The creature stood upright and reached toward me. I screamed until my own voice was gone. Another scream echoed from deeper in the forest. The entity snapped its head sharply toward the sound again. I heard it in my mind. I am the only one of this land. It retreated and tore apart Kiri's backpack and consumed the raw meat along with the plastic packaging. Then it ran toward the distant, screamed, and vanished. I carried Kiri back towards the trail, stopping only to wrap her neck with my jacket when I found my torn backpack. I barely remember the drive. I screamed the entire way to the emergency veterinarian clinic. I told them it was a bear. Kiri survived surgery but required stitches, padding, and treatment for infection. A bite wound near her eye healed more cleanly. The staff removed a 4-inch tooth, which they said came from a bear, though they admitted it looked unusual. While waiting, I searched for the trail in the app. It was gone. I do not remember its name or location. I have not hiked since. Kiri panics when taken into the wooden area. I suffered nightmares for weeks. My therapist believes I have PTSD, believing it was a bear attack. I know it was not. Please be prepared when entering the mountains. There are things out there that do not fit our understanding. Be safe, LP. The next story is about a girl who saw a strange deer-like creature. Hi, thanks for reading this. I know it sounds crazy, but I swear this is real. This occurred in December 2024, between Christmas and New Year. My best friend and I hung out at her house for most of that day. I'm very close with her parents. I have a slightly strict mom, and my curfew is 9:30 p.m. It's about a 12-minute from my house to her house. My house is in a very rural neighborhood, with every house about 100 yards apart or so. I live in eastern Washington, and there are not many trees near my house. The closest trees are about a quarter mile away, so it's not very forested except for other areas of the town. The road my house is on is paved, but there are gravel roads about half a mile long connecting my home road to the highway. It was about 8:25. I remember looking at the time when we turned onto the gravel road. My friend and I in the back of her car, and her mom was driving. We had to go slow on the road since it was rough. There are a couple of houses on the left side of the road with a big pasture on the other side. It's so hard to even believe what the hell just happened to me. It was halfway down the road. A large figure darted right in front of the car. I didn't know anything about a Wendigo until that night when I started to do research. What we saw was a tall, slender figure, 8 to 10 feet tall, with very long arms and legs, with a hunchback and an oblong head. It had antlers. It was mostly dark gray in color with no fur at all. I'm shaking in my bedroom writing this right now because this was less than a mile from where I am at this moment. All three of us, my best friend and her mom and I, saw the creature. It was not something of this world. It shouldn't exist. I have always been a skeptic, and I was never convinced cryptids of any kind were real until I saw that furless figure almost leaped across the road. I'm still completely terrified. My mom wouldn't take me seriously, and my younger siblings are terrified. I've attached an image I found on Google that almost perfectly shows what we all saw. I promise you that this is not some creepypasta or made-up story. This is real, and I'm still genuinely scared for my life. What we saw made me question reality itself and what we as a society believe in. I read a couple articles about these creatures, and I'm nothing short of horrified. I don't know if you have any advice or just think I'm crazy. Is there anything I can do to protect myself from this? According to Native American legend, their only weakness is fire. But maybe I'm wrong. My mom thinks I'm crazy. So is there not many options for me? I swear, I'm not crazy. T. So what do you guys think? Were any of these stories true? Let me know in the comments below. And if you have your own encounter with the paranormal, supernatural, UFOs, or cryptids, you can email me at themanraven20@gmail.com. Thank you for joining me on another adventure through the other world. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe to help the channel grow, and I'll see you next time in the other world.